Vladimir Putin has started using a new topic to justify his aggression against Ukraine, the Holocaust. He held a meeting on patriotic education, during which he spoke about the deaths of Jews in Ukraine during World War II.
Насколько евреев было уничтожено на Украине нацистами и коллаборационистами, о которых сейчас сказал главный раввин России?
Не смогу точно ответить, Владимир Владимирович.
А я вам скажу. Это 1,5 миллиона человек. Женщины, старики, дети. 1,5 миллиона человек. Это, если всего за Холокост было уничтожено нацистами 6 миллионов, то это четверть, 25% жертв.
Putin cites the correct figure. Historians estimate the number of Holocaust victims in Ukraine to be around this number, but then he begins to manipulate the facts. This happens in a public conversation with the director of a propaganda museum about World War II.
А кто это делал на Украине?
Ну, собственно, это делали в том числе и сами украинцы, которые вступали
Какие украинцы?
в подразделения.
Какие украинцы?
В смысле, ну...
В прямом смысле. Там были украинцы, которые спасали других людей. А кто уничтожал?
Это были нацисты.
Да, это были не просто нацисты. Это были те самые коллаборационисты, о которых сейчас главный раввин России сказал. Это вот как раз бандеровцы и же с ним.
Banderovцы or Bandera followers is Vladimir Putin's favorite topic. During World War II, some Ukrainian nationalists collaborated with the Nazis for a time. Their leader was Stepan Bandera, who soon fell out with Germans and ended up in a concentration camp himself. Ukrainian nationalists were indeed accomplices in the Holocaust, but something similar happened in other countries in Eastern Europe and in Russia itself, in territories occupied by the Nazis. Bandera and his supporters were fighting for Ukrainian independence and were willing to collaborate with the Nazis to defeat the communists. They also killed Poles. All of this is a dark chapter in the history of Ukrainian nationalism. But this is a matter of days long gone by, and Putin, seizing on the fact that the previous Ukrainian authorities partially glorified Bandera, uses this as a pretext for justifying his criminal aggression against Ukraine. But Putin goes further. In his account, it turns out that the German Nazis are almost not responsible for the Holocaust in Ukraine. Almost all 1.5 million Jews were killed by Ukrainian nationalists.
Давали прямые указания. Немцы даже войска СС не считали возможным принимать участие в этих массовых репрессиях. Они практически передали это все в руки местных националистов и антисемитов. Вот это имеет прямое отношение к сегодняшнему дню.
Of course, Putin is not interested in history itself. He needs it to justify his current aggressive imperial policy. The tragedy of the Holocaust becomes a PR tool for him, which helps to present his war against Ukraine as supposedly just.
И вот все, чем мы занимаемся, не должно иметь какого-то умозрительного значения. Это все конкретные вещи, которые связаны с днем сегодняшним.
Putin also resorts to a cheap propaganda trick. He claims that the whole world supposedly knows that Bandera followers were the main executors of the Holocaust in Ukraine.
Всему миру известно, что именно бандеровцы и же с ним занимались реализацией этого замысла, чудовищного замысла нацистов.
I don't want to justify the actions of Ukrainian nationalists during World War II, of course, but the scale of their complicity in the Holocaust is a matter of historical discussion, not a political rhetoric. According to various estimates, Ukrainian nationalists are responsible for the death of several thousand to several tens of thousands of Jews, as well as representatives of other nationalities. But for Putin, this figure is too small. In his war, dozens of thousands of people from Ukraine and Russia have already died. Therefore, he wants to cover up this crime with a more massive figure, 1.5 million victims. He wants to present his war as supposedly revenge for the deaths of Holocaust victims. What lie can be more cynical?
Кого сегодняшние власти героизируют? Убийц кровавых. Вот кого. Не люди. Возводят на пьедестал с плакатами и с их портретами ходят по центру городов.
Of course, Putin is lying. He's referring to marches in honor of Stepan Bandera, which were held in Kiev in previous years. But they were not organized by the Ukrainian government, and certainly not by President Zelensky, but by Ukrainian nationalists. And the main thing is a question that never arises on Russian TV. What does Russia have to do with all this? Ukraine is a sovereign state, and it is its concern who to elevate to the status of heroes and who not. I'm Russian, but I personally think that Ukrainians will easily figure out who is a hero and who is not without me. Moreover, I think that the glorification of Stepan Bandera partly took place in defiance of Moscow, which has been questioning Ukrainian sovereignty for almost 20 years. If Russia stopped these blatant attempts to interfere in the affairs of a sovereign state, then the marches in honor of Bandera wouldn't be necessary. Nationalism feeds on the existence of an external enemy, and such an enemy for Ukraine is Russia, and Putin is to blame for this. Later that day, Putin made another comment about Ukraine, Jews and President Zelensky. Pay attention to the finale of this statement. It becomes clear to whom Putin's rhetoric is directed.
Западные кураторы поставили во главе современной Украины человека этнического еврея с еврейскими корнями, с происхождением еврейским. И таким образом, на мой взгляд, они как бы прикрывают такую античеловеческую сущность, которая положена во фундамент, в основу современного украинского государства. И это делает всю ситуацию в высшей степени отвратительной. Тем, что этнический еврей прикрывает героизацию нацизма и прикрывает тех, кто возглавлял в свое время холокостное поколение. А это уничтожение 1,5 миллиона человек. И вы знаете, лучше всего это понимают простые граждане Израиля. Посмотрите, пожалуйста, что они говорят в интернете.
Putin is trying to influence public opinion and politicians in Israel in this way. He's trying to convince them that President Zelensky is heroizing Nazis. And Putin seems to be avenging the Jews killed by Bandera followers on Ukrainians. From a logical point of view, this is absolute nonsense, since we are talking about events that took place 80 years ago, to which none of the current actors are related. But Putin is a skilled manipulator. He knows how to inflame base national sentiments. He's trying to influence Israeli politicians and perhaps the Israeli lobby in other countries to weaken support for Ukraine. By the way, in the USSR, the tragedy of the Holocaust was silenced. It was believed that the Nazis simply killed peaceful Soviet citizens. The fact that mostly Jews were killed didn't fit well with the Soviet narrative of the Great Patriotic War. Russia partly continues this trend. But when Putin needs it, he remembers the Holocaust and uses it for his own interests cynically and brazenly. We cannot succumb to these manipulations. Thank you for watching the video. Please like it if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel. I talk about what is happening in Russia, what doesn't always make it to the news feeds. Goodbye, take care of yourself.